Before going to discuss about the carbon and its compounds in the organic chemistry, let us have a brief discussion about chemical bonds. What are chemical bonds in chemistry? My dear friends, it is better to know the nature of chemical bond, formation of chemical bond, kinds of chemical bonds, interaction of chemical bonds during the formation of organic compounds or inorganic compounds or whatever it may be in the chemical during the chemical reactions in our chemistry classes. Okay, chemical bonds are strong bonds or primary bonds such as covalent, ionic and metallic bonds. My dear friends, you should know the covalent bond. What is covalent bond? Ionic bond. What is ionic bond? And metallic bonds and weak bonds. That means when the weak bonds are there, means automatically strong bonds are there. Therefore, chemical bonds, some chemical bonds are strong and some chemical bonds are weak, which are also called as secondary bonds, such as dipole interactions, the London dispersion force, and hydrogen bonding. Hydrogen bonding is also a weak chemical force. Okay. A chemical bond is a lasting attraction between atoms, ions, or molecules. Well, friends, what is an atom? Atom is the smallest particle of the matter, which consists of the fundamental subatomic particles which are called electrons, protons, and neutrons. The protons and neutrons are packed together in the nucleus, and the electrons which are revolving around the nucleus of an atom, like that of the planets which are revolving around the sun, the analogy. And similarly, ions. What are ions? Ions are charged particles. Charged. They are all charged. It may be a positive charge or it may be a negative charge. That means ions are made up of positive charges and negative charges. How do they react during the chemical reactions? That's called ionic reactions. Ion, it may be a positive ion or a negative ion. It is also called as anion and cation. Well, molecules. What are molecules? If two or more atoms combine together to form a molecule that enables the formation of chemical compounds, the bond may result from the electrostatic force. What is electrostatic force, my dear friends? The force is created between the atoms or ions or molecules. The electrostatic force of attraction or repulsion. Charges. All ions are charged particles. The charges may be like charges repels and unlike charges attracts. This is the electrostatic force, law of electrostatic force. Like charges repels and unlike charges attracts. So therefore, charged ions as an ionic bonds, also the sharing of electrons as a covalent bonds. Sharing of electrons, mutual sharing of electrons, like that of how we are meeting two friends meeting each other by shake hand each other is nothing but mutually sharing of thoughts, ideas, expressions, love, affinity, whatever it may be. My dear friends, mutual sharing of electrons leads to the study of covalent bond. The strength of a chemical bond varies considerably. There are strong bonds or primary bonds. My dear friends, primary bonds are also called as strong bonds, such as covalent bond, ionic bond, metallic bond. Which are the strong bonds? Generally, the strong bonds or primary bonds are they are covalent bond, ionic bond, metallic bond, etc. Then weak bonds. The secondary bonds, such as dipole-dipole interactions, London dispersion force, hydrogen bonding, which are weak bonds. So, opposite charges attract via simple electromagnetic force the negatively charged electrons that are orbiting the nucleus and positively charged protons in the nucleus. This is the fundamental structure of atom. This attraction constitutes the chemical bond. Like charges repels and unlike charges attracts. Similarly, electron is negatively charged particle, subatomic particle, and proton is positively charged particle. And because of the any charged particles are there in between them, there is a attractions or repulsion forces are established. This attraction constitutes the chemical bond. Therefore, wave nature of electrons. What is the dual nature of the fundamental physics, wave nature of electrons? Electrons, their corpuscular theory, wave theory. I would like to divert your attention towards the wave theory of, that is, light and corpuscular theory of light. Corpuscular theory tells about the particle theory, and light is also acts in the form of our dual nature of light is also in the wave theory of light. These are the important basic physics. Let us discuss in the later classes. Now coming to the strong chemical bonding is associated with the sharing of transfer of electrons between the participating atoms. The atoms in molecules, crystals, metals, diatomic gases, indeed most of physical environment around us are held together by chemical bonds which dictate the structure and bulk properties of matter. So chemical bond, ionic bond or electrovalent bond, covalent bond. What is covalent bond? When a chemical bond is formed by the complete transfer of electrons. My dear friends, matter is made up of electrons, protons and neutrons. Therefore, during the chemical reaction, the valence electrons, the outermost valence electrons, there are also valence electrons, outermost electrons are also called as valence electrons. Hence, the complete transfer of electrons, or which are also outermost shell or outermost electrons, acquire the stable noble gas configuration, that is S2P6 configuration. Therefore, for example, question number 1, discuss the conditions which favor the formation of ionic bond. So lesser the ionization enthalpy, easier will be the removal of an electron, formation of a positive ion, and hence greater the chances of formation of ionic bond. Higher is the electron affinity. What is the electron affinity? Certain particles which are having higher is the electron affinity. Electron affinity. More is the energy released and stabler will be the negative ion produced. Consequently, the probability of formation of ionic bond will be the enhanced. So, and bond length between the two particles in the covalent bond. Bond formed when electrons are shared between the atoms. Covalent bond is formed by the sharing of electrons. Ionic bond is formed by complete transferring electrons. Try to remember the concept. Transferring of electrons. What is that? Ionic bond or electrovalent bond. Sharing of electrons, covalent bond. This is very important. This polar covalent bond, covalent bond between atoms of different electronegativities, a covalent bond with a positive end and a negative end. Pure covalent, which is non-polar covalent between atoms of identical electronegativity. Well, chemical bonding. Main important thing is ionic bond, covalent bond, metallic bond, van der Waals forces we have discussed previously. And another important thing is that is ionic bond, electrovalent bonding, oppositely charged ions. Covalent bond involve electron sharing, and metallic bond showing the possibility of electron paths. And the weak dipole attraction leads to the study of van der Waals forces or van der Waals bonds. This is the same thing what we have discussed here. The molecular bonding, weak electrical attraction binds molecules, that is hydrogen bonding. So my dear friends, this is ionic bond, sodium chloride, table salt, etc. These are the very important things we have discussed about the chemical bond. Ionic bond, sodium chloride, for example, table salt, you know that. Ionic bonding is sodium chloride. An atom of sodium donates one of its electrons to an atom of chlorine in a chemical reaction, and the resulting positive ion, sodium plus ion, and hence this formation, this is nothing but ionic bond.